Hey everyone, welcome back to the iGaming experience. I'm your host, Sam Bhatti, and as usual, coming to you from the Zebra Studios here in beautiful Podgorica, Montenegro. And today's episode is all about sportsbooks, what they are, how they work, what features they come with, and an idea of where the tech is headed next. So if you're brand new to iGaming or you've just joined a company that operates a sportsbook, this episode is going to break it all down for you in a simple, no-nonsense way. By the end of this, you'll not only know the common features that every sportsbook needs, you'll also know what features are becoming must-haves if you want to compete in today's market and what we might see popping up in the next couple of years. All right, let's jump in. So let's start with the basics. Okay. A sportsbook is a platform that allows users to place bets on sporting events. Pretty simple. So that could be football, basketball, tennis, MMA, esports, you name it, you could probably place a bet on. And the sportsbook sets the odds. It manages the bets, it settles the outcomes, and it keeps track of everything in real time. Now, behind the scenes, you've got three major components making it all work. Number one, the front end. This is what the player sees, right? This is what you see when you're using a sportsbook. This is the UI. This is where all the events are listed, all the different matches, all the different sports. This is also where the odds are, and this is also where the bet slip is. Number two is the odds feed, which is probably the most important component of all of this. This is where the sportsbook gets its pricing for events. So if you're wondering, how does each individual sportsbook know what odds to offer on an event? Which team should be the favorite, which one should be the underdog? That comes from the feed. So there are other companies, third-party providers like Sportradar, BetGenius, and they do that work of odds crunching, which is one of the more fascinating things in iGaming, which I cannot break down right now. But I will 100% do an episode just on how odds feeds are generated, because quite honestly, I find that absolutely fascinating. Third most important component here is the trading desk. So this is the part of the operation that monitors the odds. And then per outfit, per operator, they may or may not adjust the pricing. This is also where liabilities are managed. And basically the mandate of this team is to ensure the house always has an edge. Some sports books will fully automate their trading, right? Their risk management. Others, especially in live betting, will use a combination of automation and manual traders to protect themselves from risk. Now, I've sat in trading rooms before, and let me tell you, it is not an easy job. This is not just simple data entry. The traders have to be knowledgeable about a whole number of sports. They have to be able to input data very quickly. And most importantly, they need to be able to make quick and accurate decisions with money on the line. You'd be surprised, maybe even if you know sports, you think you could do it, but there's a lot of pressure there. And it takes a lot of time and dedication and hours to move yourself from being a junior trader up to a senior trader. It really is a very unique and impressive skill set. All right. So I'll need to get a real trader in here one day to give you all the inside track on that. I believe in episode 3, we had Stefanos Kyriakidis from BetB on, I think, who spent some time in the trading room, and we touched on this. But that wasn't the focus of that episode, so we didn't dive deep, but it definitely deserves a deeper dive. So, in short, a sports book is more than just a list of games with some numbers beside them. Okay. It's like a living, breathing system that balances the user experience with a whole bunch of math, a whole bunch of data, and hopefully, if you're successful, a lot of risk management as well. All right. So that's the core components. Let's talk some features now. What are the standard tools and functions that every legit sportsbook should have? to my mind, here are the essentials. Number one, pre-match and live betting. Okay, so players want to be able to bet before the game starts and during the game. Live betting, or also known as in-play betting, is where things move really fast. Odds update in real time, and things can jump dramatically mid-match. So it can be quite an exciting experience for, I guess, for a trader and for a punter. You know, if you're sitting there betting on the other side, it's just, for me personally as well, like I get a lot more charge out of in-play betting than I do any pre-match bets. Number two, bet slip functionality. So this is the heart of the player journey right here, right? When they're placing bets, it all lives here. This is what they're referring to before the bet is actually placed. So players add selections, they adjust their stake, and they see the potential payout within there, right? So the bet slip is going to have all that information. And for that reason, the bet slip needs to be clear, intuitive, and fast, right? That's a major complaint that you'll get is if your bet slip is slow loading or slow at accepting bets, because, as I said, these odds are moving in real time very quickly and reacting to what's happening in these different sports events. Getting the bet on that you want can be difficult. So a player is really going to demand a responsive bet slip that, for the most part, does what they're asking it to do. All right, number three is cashout. Now, this one is huge. This feature lets players settle a bet before the event is over. Okay, so maybe they're nervous or maybe they're locking in profit, but either way, cashout is now a standard. Like personally, I won't use a sports book without cashout. Full stop. I need it as part of my betting experience, especially when I'm betting in play. You know, and a little tip for some of you guys, one of the things I love to do is bet on tennis matches in play where I try to predict the correct score of the set. And it's quite rare that I will get the correct score of the set right, but there is quite often a moment within that where I could hit cash out for a win if I'm not being greedy. But truth be told, most of the time I am. But every now and then, I like to hit that cash out button and lock in some profit. Okay, number four, multiple bet types, right? We're going through the features here, and this is just an absolute standard, right? You've got singles, which are just straight up bets on a single outcome, like betting on Arsenal to beat Chelsea. If you're right, you win. Simple, right? Then there's combos, which are also known as parlays in the United States and some other markets. So these combine multiple bets into one ticket. So maybe you bet on Arsenal, maybe you bet on Barcelona and Bayern Munich and the Edmonton Oilers. So shout out to my Edmonton Oilers, but I digress as usual. So back to combo bets and parlays. Right. So maybe you're placing a bet on all these multiple teams to all win. Right. Now, if one of them loses, just one, the whole combo bet is lost. But if all of them hit, your payout is way higher because the odds multiply. So it's much more lucrative than placing a single bet on all three of them. However, your likelihood of winning that bet is lowered because you need three things to go right instead of one. And that's a good segue to the next bet type, which are system bets. Now, these confuse a lot of people. These are kind of like combos, but like with a safety net. Instead of needing every selection to win, a system bet allows you to win even if some of your picks lose, depending on the structure. So it's more complex, but it's great for users who want a balance between risk and coverage of multiple events. And now I'm going to talk about something that's really exploding, player props, right? These are way up in popularity right now. So these are bets on specific player actions, like will LeBron James score over 25 points? Or will Haaland score in the first half? Right? They're personal, they're fun, They offer tons of betting options beyond just who wins the game. And I think in today's day and age, this is my own sort of speculation, but it used to be more about the team and rooting for the team, but it feels more these days like fans are following a particular player. And if that player jumps to another team, then they're jumping with that player as well, which I have no problem with, but I'm just commenting it on with how that might play into sports betting and why these player props maybe are so interesting these days. And in fact, another aside on player props, I think this is kind of a very interesting one. I'm not just an Edmonton Oilers fan. I'm a huge Toronto Raptors fan. And if you follow the NBA or if you follow gambling, you would have heard about a player last season on the Toronto Raptors named Jonte Porter, who is the younger brother of a really good player. That's debatable, but a good player, Michael Porter Jr. And Jonte Porter, not such a great player. He's a bench player. He was on a fairly low contract, quote unquote. The guy's still probably making $7 or $8 million a year, but he decided to collaborate with some of his friends to put player prop bets on himself, where he could, as the player, control the outcome. So if it said Jonte Porter's going to get 5 rebounds or more, he would just make sure he got less than 5 rebounds, and they would all bet against it. So bit of a double-edged sword with player props to a degree. There's unfortunately some incentive for, some untoward activity, let's say some unsportsmanlike type of action. But I mean, to be fair, when betting gets entered into sports like this, there's always going to be someone looking for an edge. And Jonte Porter, shame on you. You had plenty of money. All right, so back to the features. Number 5, I think this goes without saying, but you need a responsive UI, right? Mobile first is the way to go. Even though actually in iGaming, the split between desktop and mobile users seems to be closer to 50-50 than something like e-commerce, which, unless things have changed, I believe is a lot closer to 80% mobile users. But for Sportsbook, it seems like there's a big uptake on mobile as well. So mobile first is a must when it comes to Sportsbook. You got to have a great desktop experience, but if I could choose one or the other, I would want to have a great mobile experience. Feature number 6 that I'm going to dive into is odds displays. All right. And the different options for that. So this is more of a regional thing. Players around the world use different formats, right? So there's decimal, there's fractional, and then there's American odds. There's a few other ones, but those are the main ones. And your sports book should allow you to choose which one gets displayed on your side. So, I mean, listen, I'd like to explain these odds and how they all work. But again, that could be a whole other episode. Even, in fact, I could have a whole other episode just to explain the American odds. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, just look up American odds. It's quite strange. It's all based off of how much you have to put down to win $100, which makes the math a little bit strange, but it's cool. It's once you get used to it, it's all right. But yeah, we'll have a whole separate episode on odds feeds and also these different types of odds displays. Number 7, this kind of goes without saying, and it's usually not on the sportsbook. This is more on the platform side. But just to mention, you need to have KYC and you need to have a wallet integrated, right? So the players can deposit and withdraw, and funds can be credited to their account or debited, wherever the case may be. Number 8 is event filters and search. So with hundreds, I'm way underestimating, thousands of matches happening daily, a good search bar and filtering system can make or break the user experience, right? I've had the experience of wanting to get a pre-match bet on, and the match was starting soon, and I had difficulty finding a match, and I wound up actually placing a bet on like an esports version of the actual live match that I was trying to bet on. So just make it easy for the players to get to where they want to go, right? All right. Now, let's talk about the features that aren't quite standard across the board yet, but they're quickly becoming must-haves for any sports book that's trying to compete in 2025. So, we'll take a look at it. We've got personalized bet suggestions, right? So just like Netflix recommends shows, smart sports books now use AI to recommend bets based on a player's history and their preferences. Check out episode 9 for more on that, where I went a little bit more into how AI is being used in iGaming. Second issue here is player props and micro markets. All right, so we talked about player props, not so much about micro markets. So these let players bet on smaller, more specific outcomes, like will LeBron have 6.5 assists or more, or will the next corner go to Liverpool? Right, these bets are popular, especially with younger bettors. We're used to like really quick, dynamic experiences. I don't think it's a secret to anyone that's what they've grown up on. So let's keep giving them what they want. And then micro betting is like a natural extension of all of this, right? It's all about placing ultra fast, in the moment bets during a live game. So instead of betting on the full match result, you're wagering on what's going to happen next. Like, will the next point go to Djokovic? Or, in football, will the next play be a pass or a run? It's fast, it's interactive, and it's designed for players who want constant action rather than just waiting for the end result. Which, as I said before, tends to be the younger guys, but it's not isolated to just younger guys. I don't think I fit in the younger guy category. In fact, I know that I don't, and I like these quick hits as well. So, to each their own. So, as attention spans shrink and mobile usage keeps going up, micro betting is just going to keep popping. It's going to be a huge growth area in sports betting overall, and that's I think something where a lot of innovation is needed and is coming. All right, number 3. I was going to say a future feature, but again, I'm talking now about features that used to be future features that you kind of need to have now. And number 3 is a bet builder. Right, so this is a big one. The bet builder allows users to create multi-leg bets within the same event. So it's like picking who scores first and who wins. And you get to set this up, and depending on the odds book or the sports book, they'll have different odds boosts or other incentives for you to build your own bets. And on the user side, it just gives them more control. And in a lot of cases, more control equals more engagement. More engagement equals more fun for the player and more for you on your bottom line. Right. Number 4 is live match trackers and streaming. And I don't even know why this hasn't been a major must-have feature for the last 5-7 years. I just won't use a sportsbook that doesn't have these, and I'll explain why in a little bit. The visual trackers, if you've not seen them before, it's kind of like a graphic display of the pitch or the field or the diamond, whatever is being played, whatever sport you're tracking. That will show the flow of a match in as close to real time as possible. So you have a little dot moving around the screen. And that's fine. That'll do if there's nothing else. But much, much better is if you've got actual live video. And this is an option that it's usually fairly expensive as an add-on for most sports books, but it's just a must-have. It keeps users engaged. It encourages more in-play betting. And like just personally for me, I love, as I think I mentioned before, I love some in-play betting on maybe some sports that I'm not that familiar with or athletes that I'm not that familiar with. And I need to be able to see them performing their sport for me to have any type of informed decision. And then, I like to look at the statistics as well. So you've got, usually within these tools, there's a little widget and you can look and see, how did they perform in their last 5 events, or how did these 2 players go head to head, or these 2 teams. And for me, these are actually the metrics that I use to place a bet. And it's critical for me, especially when I'm doing a sports bet, that I don't have to leave the sports book that I'm on. I want to be able to stay in there and get the information that I need to make this decision and make a bet. And I think that the statistics and the streaming and the match trackers are just, for me, essential. All right. And the 5th feature, and this is, again, not that new, but it's evolving. And this is something that if you really want to max out your sports book and Get the best, win-win for everyone. Get the best for your players and get the best for yourself. You need to have gamification and you need to have loyalty tools, leaderboards, missions, badges. Okay, it's not just casino. I know some of you were thinking that's just for casino, right? But no, it's not just casino where that works, right? Bringing gamification into the sportsbook experience is a great way to boost engagement, great way to boost retention, and overall satisfaction for everyone involved. Right. So coming to the end here, let's finish with a quick look at what's coming next. Right, we've already seen hints of the next wave of sportsbook innovation, but let me spell it out for you a little bit. So number one on this list, on my list, is hyper-personalization. And now I didn't come up with that term, but God, I've been using it a lot lately. I flex personalization for a while. Now I'm on hyper-personalization. So expect interfaces that completely adapt to the player. This is what's coming, right? You'll log in and you'll only see your favorite sports teams. You'll only see your favorite players. You'll only see your favorite bet types. Everything is going to be tailored in real time, by machine learning and other AI tools. And you're going to show up to your sports booking casino with an experience that's made just for you, right? Not for the person sitting next to you, not for the same person in your same city or someone that signaled that they like the same team. No, this is going to be for Sam. I'm going to show up. I'm going to see my Oilers. I'm going to see my Raptors. I'm going to see my New York Mets. I'm going to see my Toronto Blue Jays. And I got all these different markets and bets right in my face to go ahead and click and say, let's have some action. All right, number two, and this one I've only just heard about, but I think it's just a super cool idea. So I do hope that someone develops it. I'm sure they will. But I actually don't know of anyone doing this. So just saying that this is a cool idea. And it might sound wild, but voice activated betting, right? So think of it like this. If I could go, hey, Sportsbook, place a 10 euro bet on Djokovic to win his next match in straight sets. Bet goes into the bet slip. Maybe I have to confirm it. I don't know, but I'm liking this, right? Just this idea, like, especially with wearable devices and, having Alexas and Google Homes and Apple Homes in your, where you live. It's just getting more common, and this could be a huge convenience. And I'm really looking forward to the first time I place a bet using my Apple Watch. All right, number three is crypto native sportsbooks. So again, this isn't a new thing. This actually does exist. It's just a little bit ahead of its time right now, I think. And to be clear, I'm not talking about using crypto as a payment option. That's been around for a while, and that's definitely not going anywhere. What I'm talking about is sports books that operate on chain, on the blockchain, right? So you've got fast transactions, provably fair odds, potentially decentralized governance of the sports book. And, really, if none of those words mean anything to you, it's about transparency, right? It's about publicly making available as much as possible about the sports book, about the odds, about the bets that you've placed. And it just gives a reference point, a source of truth for everyone to work from. And, use your imagination, but that's going to solve a lot of problems in the future. It just seems like right now people aren't that interested, but I'm pretty confident that that's coming. Number four, and this one is, I know I'm such a tech nerd. Super excited about this one, though. I cannot wait until I can put on a pair of regular sunglasses and have augmented reality interfaces. Right? Imagine placing live bets while I'm watching a game through AR glasses. So I'm seeing the odds float above the player. I'm seeing the odds change on the scoreboard or the little ticker, and in real time, right? It's not even close to mainstream yet, and I think we're actually, the hardware has a long way to go. I think the software is pretty much there, but the hardware is still not something that everyone is going to consume. But a lot of smart and well-funded companies are experimenting. All right, number five, and my final future feature to come is integrated betting communities, right? I've talked about the importance of communities in iGaming before, but when it comes to sports betting, it's there's a very unique opportunity there because of the allegiances that people already have to teams and players, right? So, like, think Discord meets Bet365, right? So you got like real time chat, community picks, shared betting challenges, shared leaderboards. It's all about blending entertainment and social proof into the sports book itself. Right now, that space is evolving super fast, and my expectations are moving with them. So I'm really looking forward to seeing some cool stuff in my personal and professional life. All right, well, I think that's your crash course on sports books. We covered what a sports book is, how it works, the core features every operator needs, the must-haves that are becoming standard nowadays, and a peek into what the next few years might bring. So, if you're new to iGaming, I hope this episode gave you a solid understanding of how sportsbooks are built and where they're going. And if you're working at a company that's building one or shopping around for a sportsbook, you'll now be able to ask some smarter questions, and hopefully you're going to know what matters most to the players. Because at the end of the day, that's what this is about, is serving the players. Now, if you like this episode, I think you know what I'm going to say. Share it with a teammate or a friend who's just getting into the space. There's a growing audience for this podcast, so I think it's helping some of you out there. We'll see. Thanks for hanging out. I'm Sam Bhatti. This was the iGaming Experience. Catch you next time.